My best friend stole my husband while I was pregnant, and my family blamed me for letting it happen. I spent 32 years believing I had a sister in everything but blood. My best friend Meredith was my anchor through every storm. College heartbreaks, career crises, and the crushing weight of my grandmother's death. She was the one who held my hand during my first ultrasound, who cried with me when I found out I was having a girl, who promised to be my child's godmother. I trusted her with my deepest secrets, my darkest fears, my most vulnerable moments. While I was growing my husband's child, she was growing a relationship with him. I discovered the affair when I was 8 months pregnant. When I confronted them, they told me I was too emotional and not fun anymore. My mother told me to work on myself. My father said I should have been more attentive. I was completely alone, carrying a child, and the two people I trusted most had betrayed me. The day I discovered my husband's affair started like any other Tuesday. I was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, and counting down the days until my due date. My body ached. My feet were swollen. I couldn't sleep through the night. But I was happy. I was about to become a mother to a baby girl, and I had everything I'd ever wanted. I'm 32 years old, and I've been married to my husband, Gerald, for 6 years. We met in college, fell in love, and built a life together. He was my partner, my best friend, my everything. I thought we were unbreakable. I thought our love was the kind that would last forever. I was wrong. My best friend, Meredith, had been in my life even longer than Gerald. We met in freshman year, bonded over our shared love of poetry and our shared hatred of our professor, and we'd been inseparable ever since. She was my maid of honor at my wedding. She was the first person I called when I found out I was pregnant. She was going to be my daughter's godmother. She was my sister in every way that mattered. I never imagined she'd betray me. The signs had been there. I just hadn't wanted to see them. The way Gerald would light up when Meredith walked into the room. The way they'd laugh at inside jokes I didn't understand. The way they'd find excuses to be alone together. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was projecting my own insecurities onto them. I told myself to trust them. I found the messages by accident. Gerald had left his phone on the kitchen counter, and I was putting away groceries. I saw the screen light up with a notification from Meredith. I shouldn't have looked. I know I shouldn't have, but something compelled me to. I opened the conversation. The messages were devastating. They'd been meeting in secret for months. They'd been telling each other they loved each other. They'd been planning a future together, and I was the obstacle in their way. I felt the blood drain from my face. My hands started to shake. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I just sat there staring at the screen, feeling the world tilt beneath me. When Gerald came home, I confronted him. "What is this?" I demanded, holding up his phone. "What's going on between you and Meredith?" He looked at the screen, and I saw the color drain from his face. "Genevieve, I can explain." "Explain then," I said. "Explain why you've been telling my best friend you love her. Explain why you've been meeting her in secret. Explain why you've been planning a future with her while I'm carrying your child." "It's not what you think," he said. "We were just talking. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" I repeated, incredulous. "You've been having an affair with my best friend for months, and you're telling me it didn't mean anything?" "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen." I walked away from him. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't be in the same room with him. I went to the bedroom, closed the door, and sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall. The next day, I called Meredith. She answered on the first ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hey, I was just thinking about you." "Meredith," I said, my voice cold. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me." There was a pause. I heard her breath catch. "What's going on? Are you having an affair with my husband?" The silence that followed was deafening. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. "Genevieve, I can explain." "Explain then," I said. "Explain why you've been meeting my husband in secret. Explain why you've been telling him you love him. Explain why you've been planning a future with him while I'm pregnant with his child." "I never meant to hurt you," she said. "I never meant for this to happen. It just happened." "Just happened?" I repeated, incredulous. "You've been having an affair with my husband for months, and you're telling me it just happened?" "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm so sorry," I hung up. I couldn't listen to another word. I called my mother. I needed someone to understand. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't crazy. "Mom, Gerald is having an affair with Meredith." My mother was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was measured. "Are you sure? Maybe you're overreacting." "Overreacting?" I repeated, incredulous. "I found the messages, Mom. They've been meeting in secret for months. He told her he loves her." "Well," my mother said, "maybe you should have been paying more attention. You've been so focused on the baby. Maybe he felt neglected." I felt like I'd been slapped. "Neglected?" "Mom, I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm exhausted. I'm scared. And you're telling me this is my fault?" "I'm not saying it's your fault," she said. "I'm just saying that men have needs. You should have been more attentive." I hung up, my heart heavy. My mother had chosen Gerald over me. She'd chosen the man who'd betrayed me over her own daughter. I called my father. He was even worse. "Genevieve, you need to calm down," he said. "You're pregnant. You shouldn't be getting so upset. Just focus on the baby. Everything else will work itself out." I felt like I was drowning. My husband had betrayed me. My best friend had betrayed me. My family was blaming me. And I was about to bring a child into this mess. I decided to leave. I couldn't stay in the house. I couldn't be near Gerald. I packed a bag and went to stay with my sister, Helena. Helena was the only person who didn't blame me. She held me while I cried, listened while I raged, and told me I wasn't crazy. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said. "They did. They're the ones who betrayed you, and I'm going to help you get through this." I hugged her, feeling a flicker of hope. I wasn't completely alone. The weeks after I discovered the affair were some of the most difficult of my life. I was 8 months pregnant, exhausted, and heartbroken. I'd lost my husband and my best friend in the span of a single day. The betrayal was so complete, so devastating, that I couldn't process it all at once. I moved through my days like a ghost, going through the motions of preparing for the baby, while my mind churned with unanswered questions. My sister, Helena, was my anchor. She let me stay in her spare room, held me when I cried, and never once told me I was overreacting. She'd seen the pain, the devastation, the betrayal. She knew how deeply I'd been hurt. "You didn't do anything wrong," she said one evening. "They made choices. Those choices are a reflection of them, not of you." I wanted to believe her, but the doubt was a constant companion, whispering in my ear, telling me I wasn't enough. Gerald called me multiple times a day. I let them go to voicemail. His messages ranged from apologetic to defensive to pleading. He said he was confused and didn't know what he wanted. He said he still loved me, but also had feelings for Meredith. He said he wanted to work things out, but didn't know how. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Every time I heard his voice, I felt the betrayal all over again. Meredith also tried to reach out. She sent me long, rambling texts, filled with apologies and excuses. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said she was in love with him and couldn't help herself. She said she hoped we could still be friends. I blocked her number. I couldn't bear to read another word. I started therapy. Dr. Morrison was patient and kind, helping me untangle the mess of emotions I was carrying. "You're grieving," she said one afternoon. "Not just the loss of your marriage, but the loss of your friendship. That's a deep wound. It's going to take time to heal. But what did I do wrong?" I asked, tears streaming down my face. Was I not enough? Was I too focused on the baby? Was I not paying enough attention to him? Dr. Morrison shook her head gently. "This isn't about you. This is about them. Your husband and your best friend made choices. Those choices are a reflection of them, not of you. You were pregnant with his child. You were vulnerable, and they took advantage of that." I started to believe her. Slowly, I also started to prepare for the baby. I bought a crib, painted the nursery, and folded tiny clothes. It was bittersweet, preparing for a child while grieving the loss of the family I'd thought we'd have. Helena helped me with everything. She came to doctor's appointments, held my hand during ultrasounds, and reassured me that I could do this alone. "You're going to be a wonderful mother," she said. "And you don't need Gerald to be happy. You have everything you need right here." I knew she was right, but it was still hard. A few weeks before my due date, Gerald showed up at Helena's house. He was desperate, pleading, his eyes red from crying. "Please," he said, "just give me a chance. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I love you. I love our baby. I want to make this work." I looked at him, this man who'd broken my heart, this man who'd betrayed me with my best friend. I still loved him. I still believed in the person he could become, but I also knew I couldn't trust him. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again. I'll do whatever it takes," he said. "I'll go to therapy. I'll cut off all contact with Meredith. I'll do anything. I need time," I said. "I need to focus on the baby. I can't make any decisions right now." He nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "I understand. I'll give you as much time as you need." He left, and I felt a strange mix of emotions. I was angry, hurt, and confused, but I was also relieved. He was finally trying. He was finally taking responsibility. I went into labor 2 weeks later. It was a long, difficult birth, but I made it through. When I held my daughter in my arms for the first time, I felt a surge of love unlike anything I'd ever experienced. She was perfect. She was mine. I named her Rosalind after my grandmother. It was a name I'd always loved, a name that meant strength and resilience. I wanted her to grow up knowing that she could overcome anything. Gerald was at the hospital. He'd been waiting for hours, pacing the waiting room, desperate to see his daughter. When I finally let him in, he cried. "She's beautiful," he said. "She looks just like you." I nodded, too exhausted to speak. I didn't know if I could forgive him. I didn't know if I could ever trust him again. But I knew I wanted him to be a part of Rosalind's life. She deserved to have a father. The weeks that followed were a blur of sleepless nights and endless feedings. I was exhausted, but I was also happy. I had my daughter. I had my sister. I had a future that was entirely my own. I still thought about Gerald sometimes. I still thought about Meredith. I still felt the sting of their betrayal. But I was starting to heal. I was starting to believe that I could get through this. I was starting to believe that I was enough. The year after Rosalind was born was one of transformation. I'd spent so long being someone's wife, someone's best friend, someone's daughter, that I'd forgotten what it felt like to just be myself. Slowly, painfully, I started to remember Gerald and I started therapy. It was painful and awkward at first, but it was also necessary. We talked about everything: the affair, the betrayal, the years of neglect. He admitted that he'd used his affair as an escape from his own insecurities, his own fears of becoming a father. He'd been terrified of being responsible for another life, and instead of talking to me, he'd run into the arms of someone else. "I was a coward," he said one evening. "I was so afraid of failing as a father that I failed as a husband, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life." I listened without interrupting. I was still angry. I was still hurt. But I also saw the remorse in his eyes, the genuine effort he was making to change. "I don't know if I can forgive you," I said, "but I'm willing to try. For Rosalind, for us, He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'll do whatever it takes. Meredith, however, was a different story. She'd never apologized for what she'd done. She'd never acknowledged the pain she'd caused. She'd just moved on, expecting everyone else to move on too. I received a letter from her about 6 months after Rosalind was born. It was short, defensive, and completely lacking in remorse. Genevieve, it began, I know you're still angry about what happened, but I think you need to get over it. Gerald and I had a connection. It wasn't something I planned. It just happened. You should be grateful that I'm not in the picture anymore instead of holding a grudge. I read the letter twice, feeling a strange mix of emotions. I was angry, but I was also sad. She still didn't get it. She still couldn't see how deeply she'd hurt me. I didn't respond. I couldn't. There was nothing left to say. I started to rebuild my life. I focused on Rosalind, my work, and my own well-being. I took up painting again, something I hadn't done since college. I started exercising, eating better, and sleeping more. I made new friends, reconnected with old ones, and started doing things I love. I also started to think about forgiveness. I didn't want to carry the anger forever. It was exhausting. It was consuming, and it was keeping me trapped in the past. I talked to Dr. Morrison about it. I want to forgive Meredith, I said, but I don't know if I can. Forgiveness isn't about forgetting, she said gently. It's about letting go of the anger so you can move forward. You can forgive her without letting her back into your life. You can forgive her without trusting her. I thought about that, about the weight I'd been carrying for so long. The anger, the resentment, the constant replaying of everything that had happened. It was exhausting. I was tired of carrying it. I decided to write Meredith a letter. I kept it brief. Meredith, I wrote, I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I know you don't think you did anything wrong, but you did. You hurt me deeply. You betrayed my trust. And you never apologized. I'm not going to keep waiting for you to understand. I'm not going to keep waiting for you to change. I'm letting go of my anger, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I sealed the envelope and sent it. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, a weight I'd been carrying for too long. A few years passed. Rosalind grew into a curious, beautiful little girl. Gerald and I continued to work on our marriage. It wasn't perfect. It would never be perfect, but we were trying. We were showing up for each other. I still thought about Meredith sometimes. I wondered if she'd ever change. I wondered if she'd ever understand what she'd done, but I didn't dwell on it. She was part of my past, not my future. One evening, I sat on the porch, watching the sunset, Rosalind playing in the yard. Gerald was inside, making dinner. The sounds of laughter drifted through the open window. It was the most beautiful sound in the world. I thought about everything I'd been through, the betrayal, the heartbreak, the long road to healing. I thought about the woman I'd been before and the woman I'd become. I'd been through hell, but I'd come out the other side. I was stronger, wiser, and more whole than I'd ever been. I smiled, feeling the warmth of the sun on my face. The future was mine to shape, and I was ready to embrace it.